Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Teresa. This is Lost My Thread. Today I'm going to be talking about everything I made in the months of March and April. This is going to be a bit of a bumper one. I will say I've been making quite a bit, but I didn't want to make one of these videos at the end of March because I've made separate videos on a lot of these garments. So it didn't seem like there was much point in telling you everything that I've made. So anything that I've made a separate video on, I'll let you know what that is. I will put a link to it and I won't get into as much detail. I'm going to start with my So Frugal 2022 makes. I did make a video when I was talking about my plans for So Frugal and another reveal video, so I'll pop a link to the reveal video where I tell you lots more detail about these patterns. But the first one I'll tell you about is the Bardon Dress. This is a dress by Elbe Textiles. It was designed for Peppermint magazine. It's a really beautiful, really nice loose fitted sleeveless dress. It's got multiple tiers here with nice gathers. I actually tie-dyed this fabric myself when I was back in Chicago at my parents' house. I used the shibori style method, so I did like a folding and tie-dyeing. It came out really cool. I really love this dress. I added some ties for the back just to cinch it in a little bit at the waist. Super comfortable. I know that I'm going to be wearing this one plenty. Next up is my shirred bodice jumpsuit, which I've talked about. In addition to the So Frugal video, I've done a whole tutorial about how to make this jumpsuit for yourself. You know, I'm going to be popping a link up there for you to check it out if you want to. And it is this jumpsuit. Like I said, it's a shirred bodice jumpsuit, so it's shearing on the bodice here, which hopefully you can see, which then goes into some nice wide leg trousers. I used the cast wide leg pants, an elastic waist pattern from fabricstore.com. I put this really cute ruffle detail on the straps that cover my bra straps perfectly. This is such a fun make. I'm definitely planning to make more. I've got some fabric sitting around to make another one. This was a really fun, successful jumpsuit, and I just cannot wait for the summer to come so I can wear the heck out of both of those. And my final So Frugal make was the Valley Jumpsuit. This one is designed by Ready to Sew for Peppermint magazine. Again, another free pattern. It's a really beautiful linen jumpsuit. I love the color of it. It's got these really beautiful white stripes going throughout. There is only 3 pattern pieces to this pattern. One for bodice, one for trouser, and one for pockets. So not many pattern pieces if you don't like piecing things together. Really interesting and unusual construction. Had this really great chevron effect on the back. Really fun project, and I've definitely been wearing that one a lot already, and I foresee myself wearing it plenty in the future as well. My next one is another one that has a whole video dedicated to it, and it is my Estuary Skirt by So Liberated. This was a skirt that I had previously made years ago, about 20 years ago. I wasn't wearing it, it wasn't working for me, and I completely refashioned it, took it to pieces, and remade a completely new skirt. It turned out so good. It's such a cute skirt, and I know I'm going to be wearing it. The colors are just beautiful. The fabric is absolutely incredible, and this is something that I've got tons of things that are going to pair really well with this one. So this is going to be an absolute staple in my summer wardrobe. Really successful transformation that I made from an old skirt. If you do want to check out more about how I made that and the decisions that I had to make, I'll pop a link to it. As you know, that should be hopefully the last one that I'm giving you a link to, because now I'm going to be talking about things that you don't already know about. Alright, and then the first one that I have a lot to say about is my ginger jeans. I made my jeans, guys! It is huge! This is a big achievement for me. If you watched my plans videos for the spring, I did talk about how I had actually started making a pair of ginger jeans 3 years ago, abandoned them because the fit was absolutely wrong in so many ways, put it to one side thinking, oh, maybe I'll tweak it later, and eventually I decided I need to start fresh. So I decided to make a black pair of ginger jeans. It's a Closet Core Patterns pattern. It is a skinny jean, but you can choose different length options and different rise options. So I went for the stovepipe legs, which are not as tight. They're not like super skinny tight, but they're still nice and fitted all around the main sort of front and the back crotch area and the thigh. This is made from a stretch denim that I got from the Fabric Godmother. It is absolutely a successful attempt, my first successful attempt at making jeans. I'm just really excited about the finish on these. I love how they turned out. They look just like professional jeans. Like, I really can't fault them. I'm so pleased with the overall look of them. One thing I will say is when I was doing top stitching around the pockets, I pivoted down, or pivoted at a corner before I should have, or after I should have, sorry. So it was really close to the edge, hopefully you can see, as I was pivoting. And so I decided to make it a design detail and do it on both edges. So that's a lot more narrow, that top stitching. And I did it on both pockets, again, to make it look like it's just a design choice. I'm going with it. I think they look good. These are not 100% perfect, but wow, are they close. They are really good. I also have a really fun detail on the inside. The pocket bags, you can use whatever fabric you've got lying around. And the fabric that I decided to use was this really fun, it's a cotton polyester fabric. Hopefully you can see what's going on there. They're these little bumblebees. Now this fabric I got from my mom. It's a fabric that was in my parents' house in the basement for as long as I ever knew. My mom had a little stash of fabric there that she would occasionally make some things. She didn't sew a ton, but she did sew a bit here and there. And I remember seeing that fabric and thinking it was really fun. And at some point, I think it must have been around 2003, maybe 2004. I moved to the UK in 2003, so it was around that time for sure. I asked my mom, do you actually want this fabric or can I have it? Because it would be fun to do something with it. She said, yeah, go for it. You take it. I'm not using it. It's been sitting around for years. I asked her where it came from, like had she had plans to do something with it? Did she ever make anything with it before? And she told me that it was fabric that she got when I was a baby. So me and my brother and sister were babies. I'm the youngest. I was born in 82, so it was probably around 1984 purchase, something along those lines. And it's just been sitting in my parents' basement with nothing doing with it. She then gave it to me and it sat around for another probably about 20 years. And it's finally in a garment. It was just really cute fabric and I felt like it was maybe a little bit too cutesy to use for a lot of things. So I didn't know what to do with it. And then I thought, yeah, pocket bags, it's super soft fabric, really nice, feels great for the pockets. And it's actually a pocket stay on these jeans, so it goes all the way from the zipper all the way to the front side seam, which helps to just cinch in your tummy a tiny bit. I will be honest, I feel like it makes them just a little bit tighter probably than I would like, so I might just try with pocket bags rather than the pocket stay next time round. As far as the rise on these, I did the online class, I think it's like Sew Your Dream Jeans class from Closet Core Patterns. Got this as a birthday present coming up to 3 years ago now, guys. So this is the reality of when I intended to make these jeans the first time. It is such a phenomenal course. It is run by Heather Liu of Closet Core Patterns. She's such a great teacher, so supportive. There is so much detail in this jeans making class that I've taken from it that I've been using in the last 3 years of sewing. And I feel like I'm definitely in a better position now to have made the jeans than I was a few years ago. But yeah, fantastic course, really great value for money. I highly recommend if you're thinking about making jeans. But in that video, she gives you tons of tips about the tutorial, or tips about the fit and how to get the shape that you want. On the online course, you can choose a mid-rise option. I think when you buy it, you can only get low-rise or high-rise. But I went for the mid-rise, which was what you can get from this course. And one of the things that you get in the pattern is the finished garment measurements, including the rise, which is the front rise, so from the center of the crotch up to the front of the pants. So what distance or what length that's going to be. Now, what I didn't realize the first time around when I made this, when I measure the mid-rise jeans, which is supposed to be coming up to apparently around your belly button or just under your belly button, it is way lower than that on me if I look at that rise measurement. A good 1.5 inches below my belly button. So when you're looking at what the waist measurement is supposed to be, that is going to tell you the finished garment measurements at that point, which is significantly lower than I was expecting the jeans to finish on me. I hope that makes sense for anyone who might be in a similar position. But basically my body is longer on the front of the crotch than the pattern is designed for. So I needed to lengthen the rise, and when I went up that 1.5 inches extra and measured around, it actually fit with the size that I was expecting it to be, which is a 12 for me. My waist is 31 inches. Because the finished garment measurements tell you the measurement at the point where the pants are going to fit. These aren't going to go all the way to your natural waist. They're not intended to be because they're a mid-rise jean. So if you're looking at that measurement, it's going to be bigger than your waist measurement most likely, or it needs to at least fit with where you're expecting those jeans to finish. And then the distance from that point to the center of the crotch along the front section there needs to match up. I really hope that this is not just complete gobbledygook. It definitely makes sense in my head, but basically the other jeans were way too small because I am narrower, 1.5 inches above where these jeans were supposed to finish, and that was the measurement that the jeans were made for, not for where my body was naturally going to be at that point. So I lengthened the rise by 1.5 inches, which is quite a significant amount. And for the jeans, there's a lot of pieces that then need to be adjusted. So obviously you've got your waistband piece, but you've got this pocket here, the 5th pocket, the main pocket, and pocket bags. You've got the fly that needed to be changed. So I basically need to make sure all of that was that little bit longer so that it was going to be sitting where I wanted it to sit on me. I think in the future I'd probably go for just 1 inch increase in the rise, because this does end up kind of just in the middle of my belly button. It could be a tiny bit lower and I'd be really comfortable with that. I then graded out to a 14 at the hip. Again, across all those pieces, including the back yoke, all of this needed to be adjusted. And I will say it was worth the effort. It was worth squeezing my brain a little bit to get it to work out, because these are darn near perfect as far as the fit. Now, any minor things that I will tell you about, please bear in mind that these are fantastic, totally wearable jeans that I'm really proud with. But things that I will look at going forward, I do think there's just a little bit excess bulk in the back yoke. I do think I have a little bit of a slight sway back adjustment that I need to make. I curved the waistband in by 1 inch, so the top of the waistband is 1 inch narrower than the bottom of the waistband. And that's just because my body is quite hourglass shaped and it goes in quite a bit at the waist, so I wanted to make sure that it was going to sit and not just want to fall down. I also think the waistband is just a little bit too small. Now, I made this waistband 3 times, guys. The first time I made the waistband, I basted it all together and it seemed perfect. But the difficulty is you're just overlapping that waistband approximately where you think it needs to be comfortable. But then when you're stitching the sides together, putting in the button and the buttonhole and putting it together, it doesn't necessarily overlap exactly in the same way that you anticipated. So the first time it was too tight, not comfortable at all. Also, it was pulling up where I'm more narrow, giving me a bit of a wedgie. Took the whole thing out, recut another waistband, and I don't know why I didn't look to see what the length of the first waistband was to make sure that the second one was going to be a little bit wider. And I think I basically just stitched it the same. So the third time I was a little bit more thoughtful and I compared the waistband that I wasn't happy with the waistband that I was going to make. And I am generally pretty darn happy with this waistband, but it is just a smidge, I think, a little bit too tight. By that point, I was not going to mess around with it. And also, as you wear these jeans, because it's stretch denim, they do start to stretch out. So I do think it's comfortable to have them as they are. But in the future, I'm going to be a little bit more careful on how I stitch that waistband together, just to make sure that it is as comfortable as it possibly can be. But yeah, I made jeans, guys. That is definitely one of those things where you feel like once you can sew jeans, you kind of can sew anything, right? So I feel like I've gotten through one of my sewing achievements, really happy to have crossed that off the list. And I do really want to make some more jeans. I probably will wait until it's some cooler weather again, but I am really excited to make more jeans and I've been loving wearing these. I've been wearing them all the time. The next one to tell you about is a project. If you've been following me for a while, you might remember me mentioning this in previous videos. It is a quilt that I finished for my niece. Now, this is a quilt that I designed in my own mind because for some reason I decided I wanted to make her a quilt that I saw on Pinterest. Looked really cool, but I'm not a quilt designer. I don't really know what I'm doing. I figured, how hard can it be? I made myself a little sketch of how I thought I could make it as far as the different squares, how I could create that kind of rainbow overlap, so the arc of the rainbow with it having that slightly pixelated look to it. I did some math to try and work out what's going to be the right size, pieced it all together with completely different fabrics. So some of them had patterns, some of them were completely solids. I really love the effect of how it all came together. But when I put it together, it was too small. I'd obviously not done the best math. I don't quite know because, like I said, I don't know what I'm doing. I was very much winging it. And I decided that I needed to do something to make it bigger. Wasn't quite sure what to do and decided to add a border. I was chatting with my husband about what kind of border would make sense, what would look cool, and he came up with this idea of having different shades of red. So it kind of looks like it's popping out like a 3D image. You know when you look at something that's 3D and depending on the shadowing and the light and the dark, they can look like different colors. So you can get like a cube that if it's lit from one side, all the different sides of the cube will look slightly different. You know what I'm talking about, or you don't. But what I will say is this plan worked really, really well. It looks really cool. It really makes the rainbow section pop. And I actually feel like I like it better than just one solid rainbow. So happy with how that came out. I did a really nice light blue border all around because light blue is her favorite color, but also I just felt like it would really pop against everything else that I had going on. I used a plain cotton sheet for the backing. I decided to go for navy blue because the front is like a rainbow in the sky. I felt like the navy blue would almost feel a little bit like the night sky. She probably isn't picking up on that, and I don't really care. I thought it turned out really cool, and I'm really happy with how it came together. This quilt I've been working on for a good year. It's been a slow project, and I'm so happy with how it came together. Doing the quilting on the top was definitely a little bit hairy at points. Making that arc, following the kind of angle of the curve, whilst I was going across these square grid pieces, it was not easy, guys. I drew some lines, and I don't know how it worked out as neatly as it did. I obviously tried to be as neat as I could, but it was a bit of a beast getting that thing through my sewing machine, I'm not gonna lie, but I really, really do love how it turned out. Most importantly, my niece, who just turned 10, so this was the 10th birthday present, she absolutely loves it, which is what it's all about. So it made me really happy to be able to give that to her, to share that lovely cozy thing with her, that nice handmade thing. This is going to be my entry for the Selfless Sew April challenge. So if you're not aware of it, it's probably a little bit too late to enter, but it was a challenge set up by Crystal of My Social Thread and Adele of Sew for Serenity. I think I got their names right. Yes, I got their names right. I had them written down. So this was Selfless Sew April 22 challenge over on Instagram, and they were going to be giving prizes for all different categories. Not interested in the prizes, that's not what it's about. It was just a really nice opportunity to give myself that kick up the butt to finish making this quilt that I've been wanting to make and wanting to give to my niece for so long. Next up is the top that I'm wearing. Now this one might look a little bit familiar, but a little bit confusing if you've watched my videos before. This is basically a refashion of a shirt that I made for my t-shirt tussle, so one of my Clash of the Patterns videos. So I was comparing different t-shirt patterns to find the best one for me, particularly patterns that fit with a fuller bust, because that can be a bit of a challenge. I made the classic tee by Love Notions in this fabric, but I was never happy with it. It was definitely a big fail of the year. I didn't want to wear it, didn't like how it looked on me. I felt like the proportions were just really off. The sleeves were too big, the neckline was a bit too loose, the whole thing felt really baggy. I just didn't like it. It seemed like pajamas basically, but I just knew I wasn't going to reach for it. So I put it to one side with the aim of trying to make something else out of it so that I didn't lose this beautiful fabric. And it worked out so well. So I made myself the Concord Tee by Cashmerette with the same fabric. So the only thing I will say is I had a little bit of extra fabric left over to cut out this front bodice piece, which I needed to do. I was able to get this back bodice piece out of the back bodice of the previous shirt, but just the way that the neckline and the armhole fit on the front bodice, I couldn't get this front bodice out of it, but I was able to get the sleeves out of it. So I just needed to use one extra scrap bit that I had left over to make the front bodice. And I am so much happier with it. I love the fit of this. It's so comfortable. I'm so glad that I get to wear this fabric because it is gorgeous. This fabric came from Vogue Fabrics in Chicago when I was there in the summertime. It's a viscose jersey, but it has this really beautiful slubby texture to it that I absolutely love. It's really lightweight, super comfortable. I know I'm going to be wearing this one so much. I decided to make the V-neck, which I haven't done with a Concord Tee before, and I love how it looks. I think it's a really pretty design, but I will say that I didn't put it together the way that you were supposed to. You're supposed to be having these sections kind of overlapping inside the neckband. I did not understand how I was supposed to make that work. I'd made 2 attempts in the shirt, worried that I was going to basically destroy the shirt because it's quite lightweight. It doesn't like being unpicked a million times. I then just took some scrap fabrics, had 3 attempts at a fake neckband on a fake little cutout on another bit of scrap fabric. I could not figure out how to make that look like how it was supposed to. It is the first time Cashmerette's instructions have completely perplexed me. On the whole, they have great instructions, but Honestly, I have no clue how I'm supposed to make the neckband look like how they intend it. So I just did it my own way, and I just stitched together the points of this triangle basically, made an extra stitch line here, and there's a little vertical line at the center of the V, which still I think looks great. It fits me really well. I love the V-neck, like I said. So if you have any hints or tips, if you have made the V-neck of the Concord tee, and you could do a little quick video to show me what you're supposed to do, or explain it in a different way from how it is in the instructions, please let me know, because I would love to make it how they want you to make it, but I have no clue. I'm completely lost at how I'm supposed to do that. The next one to tell you about is a absolute scrap buster of a project. I had a very small amount of this blue fabric left over, and I have little scrap bins where I keep all of my fabric scraps. I tidied these all up last year. I did a video all about tidying up my fabric stash. It is such a great way to just keep track of what I've got. And when I was putting this blue scrap away, I noticed that I had a pink scrap that looked very similar. Like I said, I really love the texture. I'll show you up close. This is the slubby texture on the blue fabric. So this is the viscose jersey fabric. And I spotted that I had a very similar look on this fabric. So this is actually a cotton jersey fabric that I got, and it was a scrap that I had left over. This was from a Frankie baseball tee that I made a few years ago. And I thought, that's just too much fun, and the colors really play off each other in a really vibrant and really cool way. So I decided I was going to go ahead and do what I could to make them work together. So I basically just cut up the sections that I could to make as big of a piece as possible, and I pieced it all together and made a scrappy tank top. Now I will say this was an intentional design here. I wanted to have there be a diagonal line from the arm seam down to one of the side seams. So I traced out my pattern piece for this, cut that diagonal where I wanted it to be, and then I added a seam allowance to the top and the bottom sections to piece them together. Apart from that though, I just pieced bits onto wherever they could go to make bigger pieces, so that way I could put it all together. And I had this really cool, really unique, scrappy, mismatched tank top. So this is the super basic tank by Halfmoon Atelier, a pattern that I've made before that I know works for me. It's a free pattern. It has this really cool binding around the neckline and the armholes, which I think really works in this because you can really get it popping there because I've got the two different fabrics playing off each other. I narrowed the shoulder straps by 2 inches, which sounds like a lot, but my old one used to just continuously slip off my shoulders or just get really close to the shoulders, and I felt like it was about 1 inch too wide on each side. So I took the whole thing in by 1 inch and it fits absolutely perfectly, so I'm so glad that I made that adjustment. I had to put this label, it's a Kylie in the Machine label, and I felt like the color just worked so well. It just really popped against it, so I thought that was a fun detail to add. One thing I will say is that when I made this and put it all together, I noticed on the back of one of the pieces, or the back of the top, on one of the pieces, there was a slight little cut through a piece of the fabric. So I think that must have been from when I made the top previously. Somehow my scissors just got in somewhere they shouldn't have and did a little tiny snip. So I did a little repair. I stitched over the top a little bit of a visible mending. I don't think it's too obvious. And this is the back of the tank top. So from there, I don't think you can really see it. So I'm not too worried about it, but it was a bit of a shame when I realized. But by that point, I had nothing left of the pink fabric or the blue fabric. So it was what it was, but I do still think it turned out really well. This is a bit tighter probably than I would normally intend. I did do a full bust adjustment on this when I made it initially, and I graded out at the waist and the hips. I sized up as well because this has got a lot of negative ease, so I went up 1 size compared to my body measurements. I still feel like I could have gone up a little bit more because this fabric isn't quite as stretchy as the previous fabric that I used, but I think it's going to be a fun one to wear in the summer. I will say that it turned out a lot more sporty looking than I was expecting. I think there's something kind of 1980s get in shape girl kind of thing going on, Jane Fonda kind of vibes, but I don't care. I don't mind. It's really fun, and I am going to definitely wear that one when the summertime comes. And if you haven't worked it out already, I am obsessed with the Concord tee. So much that I made a Concord tee t-shirt dress. So same Concord tee by Cashmerette. I made this really cool t-shirt, really cute. with this gathered section on the bottom. Love the little stripe play that I've got going on there. This is a really beautiful modal jersey, absolutely lovely. I got from a D-stash over on Instagram. Rachel from Scissors Paper Sewn was destashing a load of fabric and some gorgeous fabric. I actually snatched up 2 bits of fabric from her because they were too beautiful to pass up. But this is one of the things she was getting rid of. She apparently got it from Sew Over It. It is so soft and lovely and slinky, and the colors are so cool. I'm really happy with how I got that neckband with the stripe going around symmetrically. Is pretty nice when you have something that's really satisfying. But yeah, you know what? It's not all perfect. My stripe matching on the side leaves something to be desired, but we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the beautiful neckline because that's the bit. It went in really well, and that stripe is absolutely perfect, spot on. I did make the short sleeve version of this t-shirt. The short sleeve is meant to have this little cuff at the bottom, which I did on this shirt that I made. But on this version, I just decided to fold that up and just hem it, and I want it to be a little bit shorter. So I think that turned out really, really cute. I did think about adding pockets to that, but in that kind of drapey, floppy, stretchy fabric, I just felt like they were going to pull around and just bother me, so I didn't bother with pockets. I did intend initially to just do like a straight up vertical stripe t-shirt one-piece dress, but I didn't actually have enough of it because I only had 1.5 meters of this. I'm pretty pleased that I managed to get what I did out of it, and I really am happy with how it came out. The Concord Tee, yet again, being a huge savior in my wardrobe, but I really think that's going to be one that I can be wearing at work, I can wear outside of work. It's going to be really comfortable to wear when it gets hotter as well. The last finished one I've got to tell you about is a t-shirt. It's a t-shirt I've made quite a few times before. I think it's the t-shirt, well, it's got to be the pattern that I've made the most. It is the Brea Tee by Halfmoon Atelier. I've made countless versions. Maybe this is number 8. I don't know. I lose track, honestly. But it is this amazing fabric that I got from Dupes Designs. I'm hoping you can see how vibrant and how cool this fabric is. I got this fabric because I've been eyeing Sarah of Sew Sarah Sewed's YouTube videos and Instagram, and she has some of the most incredible fabrics. Absolutely love all the fabric that she uses, and I asked her where she gets a lot of it, and she gave me the tip off that one of the places she likes to shop from is Dupes Designs, which is an Australian company. They actually do garments, they sell garments, but they also sell their garment fabric. They have so many cool things. I actually picked up 3 pieces of their fabric, or I ordered 3 pieces of their fabric. I looked to see what the shipping cost was going to be, because that's kind of the biggest thing with going international, buying international. The shipping can be really extortionate, and it was only £17, which honestly I think was really good. I'm someone who has a lot of experience shipping things overseas, and frequently I spend £30, £40, £50 just on the shipping to send things to my family, to my loved ones abroad. So £17 is pretty good, and actually not that much less than some of the prices that I paid for shipping within the UK. So I thought, okay, I'm gonna go with it. I'm gonna buy some of their fabric. I had emailed them to ask them about the stretch percentage on their stretchy fabrics, and they emailed me back as a bit of a heads up. They're having a sale soon. So I waited for the sale, bought the fabric in the sale, and I'm so happy with my purchases. This fabric, the colors are just so vibrant. It is stretchy. It has a lot of stretch. I think it's like a good 60% stretch. But this is actually just 100% cotton. It's knit, which makes it stretch, but there's no elastane, there's no spandex in it, which I was amazed by. It is really beautiful quality. It's a really good weight as well. And this t-shirt, the Brea Tee, is one of my absolute favorites. There's 2 versions of this top, and it's a dartless top, and it's fitted with multiple bust cup options. I really love the fit and the shape that it gives me. The length of it is just absolutely perfect. They have what's essentially like a knit and a woven version of this top, so you could use the other way around. But the knit version has this hemband at the bottom, which I really love. I think that's a really cool detail. And it also has a binding that goes all the way around the neckline and the armholes. And then you stitch it together at the shoulder seam. And I think it's a cool look. I think it's definitely a bit of an 80s looking kind of a thing. I think it is a great one. I love using this pattern for any novelty prints because I feel like it makes them just a little bit more elevated when you're using something that's potentially a little bit funky, a little bit unusual. And I wear my Brea Tees so much, especially the jersey ones. They are one of my biggest go-to things to wear, and I wear it year round. So I know that this one is going to be an absolute staple in my wardrobe, and it's just so much fun with that fabric. I love it. I do also want to tell you about a pair of pants that I did not make, but I was a part of making. So my friend Annette, who you might have seen if you watched my Vlogmas videos, she has been knitting for as long as I have, so about a year we've been knitting, a year and a bit. And I've been trying to tempt her slowly into the world of sewing. I've taken her to the Stitch Festival, to the Knitting and Stitching show. We've looked at fabrics together. I always show her what I'm wearing that's me made. And she decided she wanted to have a go at making something for herself, which I was only going to encourage. Now, she doesn't have a sewing machine, so I was like, it's fine, come around my house. We will both sew together. I've got an old sewing machine that I can use. You can use my nice new flashy one because I want you to have a good experience. And she made herself a pair of pants. She made the Ray pants, which is from the Breaking the Pattern book by Named Clothing. Elastic waist, wide leg pants. These have a nice pleat detail in the front. They've got inseam pockets, and they turned out so good. She made these in a viscose linen fabric that she got from the Fabric Godmother at the Stitch Festival, and I'm delighted with them. She is so proud of them, and I'm so excited. She has definitely been bitten by the sewing bug. She's already planning her next project, which I'm very happy about. It's so cool to have a real life sewing buddy. I don't know anyone in my real life who sews, so it's very exciting for me to have someone who I can sew with. But it's been really fun watching her learn from the beginning. She's a great learner, really great questions, super interested. It's been a really fun process, I think, for both of us. And we just had a lot of fun listening to music, hanging out and laughing while we were sewing. So that's been something that I'm really proud to say that I was a helping hand in making that project happen. Now I'm going to tell you about my works in progress. So I have a couple of tops, a couple of blouses that I had hoped to finish this month because I was going to submit them for the Sew April Blouse Challenge, and one or the other I was thinking even for the Sew Maxi for Mother's Day, because you can do like a statement blouse is one of the things that you submit. But I haven't finished it in April, and I'm not sewing any new garments in May. If you haven't seen my Me Made May pledge, I'm not sewing or working on any new garments in May apart from a collaboration that I talked about as well. But I have basically made the Norma blouse by Fiber Mood, and that just makes it kind of a little bit, you know, it's a little bit more frustrating. But I've made this blouse. I don't think it's going to show very well. The Norma blouse has these fabulous sleeves. So we've got like a bishop sleeve. It's got this nice gathering at the top, tons of beautiful gathers at the bottom, which is going to be like a 3/4 length. It is a button up. It's going to be a button front V-neck. This is so hard to show you when it's not on a human, and it doesn't have the buttons. And that is the issue. I don't have the buttons because I just didn't have the buttons that I liked for it. Everything I had was just a bit more of a bold color. So this is a really lovely double gauze, but it's got very muted shades of browns and blues and pinks and orange. Everything I had was just a bit too punchy and bold and just looked like it stood out way too much for the front of this. So I have ordered some buttons, which will be arriving in May. I'm not going to finish this blouse until June because I'm not working on anything new, but it will literally just be buttons and buttonholes once I've got them, and then it will be a really beautiful blouse. I was also hoping to finish, I'm not going to finish, the Sade blouse from the Named Pattern Breaking the Pattern book in this gorgeous cotton sateen Nani Iro fabric that I got from Guthrie and Ghani. I've got it cut out, I've made a muslin, made a load of adjustments, so I'm so glad that I made a muslin. I think this is going to turn out really well. I've interfaced the edges that need interfacing, but I just ran out of time to do anything more than that. So again, this is going to now sit to one side until June so I can finish it up then. And finally, a knitting update. So back in December for my Vlogmas, you might have seen it, I got a yarn advent calendar. So I got a little mini skein of yarn every day in December leading up to Christmas. And they were these really amazing, beautiful, vibrant colors from Made by Penguins even. And I'm making a striped cardigan out of it. It's going to be the Timely cardigan by Truly Myrtle. And I've been alternating the rows. So I've got 2 rows of the different advent skein that go in between the rows of gray. Let me show you and you'll see what I'm talking about. So the main yarn that's going all throughout is this light gray. And then I've got a little mini skein for two of the rows alternating, and then a different mini skein, and it goes all the way to the bottom because I've got to the bottom, which is so cool. So I have finished the main body of this cardigan, which is pretty awesome. I love how it looks. It's so much fun. I have separated the sleeves, so I'm going to go back and do the sleeves later. I have started the hem band. So it has a really interesting and really pretty hem. It's different from the usual ribs that I've done. And it uses a bit of like knit from the back loop, purl from the back loop. It definitely confuses me a little bit, but it's a really pretty effect. This is also then going to have a band that goes all around the neck and down the front, which is going to be the button band. And obviously, like I said, I still need to do the sleeves. But I think this is going to be so cool. That's the inside if you guys like to see the insides. I don't know if people like to see the insides, but I think it's interesting to see. But yeah, the colors are so great. It turned out really cool. I wanted it to look quite random, and I think it's definitely done that. And I think this is going to go with so much because the colors are just all over the place in a very fun way. And that's just been a really fun project to just slowly work on here and there when I'm just relaxing, often in the evenings or early mornings. I know that was a big one. There was a lot to share there. If you do have a favorite, let me know in the comments down below. If you've made any of these patterns before and they worked out or didn't work out, let me know that as well. Please do give me a like if you enjoyed my video today. Subscribe if you want to see more of what I'm making. I will be doing weekly videos in May with updates from my Me Made May pledge, and that should be when I see you guys again next. Take care. See you soon. Bye.